things in the news, Ed, and people are asking questions. Maybe we can shed a little light on things. Maybe not, but the multiple stabbings at the Walmart in Michigan, stopped by a concealed carrier, someone with a legally owned firearm. And again, these are all very new. We're going to talk about this one and the shooting in Manhattan as well. And as you mentioned before the camera started rolling, everything is still kind of in flux. There's still more information coming out. I was watching what was going on there at the Walmart parking lot, watching some of the video of that. And one, felt really great that, yay, concealed carrier there stopped this madman without firing a shot. And also, watching the video prompted a lot of questions for me and a lot of comments from other people who were watching video over there. And a lot of it is, wow, what are we going to do in a situation like that? We carry guns. We like to think that we would be involved and we would get in there to try to help, something like that. But in this kind of dynamic and really high stress situation, we saw a lot of craziness in this video. What were you noticing when you saw this video?
When I watched this video, the wildest part to me was, it's been attributed to a lot of people, but everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. People like to say that.
Yep.
If you've spent much time watching people who don't have very much experience with violence get involved with violence, you also realize a lot of people don't have a plan, even for before they get punched in the face. A bunch of people ran up on this person because I should do something.
Yeah.
Well, we have our armed citizen who is taking this person at gunpoint, which is another discussion we'll have to have as to whether that's ever a good idea. But there's somebody who keeps getting in front of him. Did you see that guy?
Yeah, in the purplish colored shirt. That was one of the guys I wanted to talk about too. What are you going to do? And this guy, to me, it looked like he went beyond condition red, and he was just shouting and moving forward, and he kept getting in front of the guy with the gun, and that's not where I want to be.
Again, to me, it looked like the plan was he had no plan. The plan was I have to do something, so you're going to run up on the guy with a contact distance weapon. They all seemed very close to me, but again, easy for me to say. Camera angles can be funny, and maybe these people didn't go to the academy. Maybe they've never been to a class that taught them distance is safety, especially with something like a knife. So while we would all applaud their actions as good citizens, we also, and I want everyone who's watching this to go watch this video of what happened in this Walmart parking lot. It's not very long. It's not one of those that's going to take you a long time to get through. But watch what happens, and maybe what if yourself through that video. What if you do get right up on the guy that you're getting up on because he just stabbed a bunch of people? What if he stabs you?
Right.
Like, yeah, man. What if he decides to start stabbing people again? You've walked up to within 3 feet of this guy. People erroneously call it the Tueller drill, but it wasn't a drill. It was just some tests that were run out in Utah, however many decades ago, showing just how quickly someone with an edged weapon can close with and touch somebody who was drawing from a duty holster, not a concealed holster, but a duty holster, before that person could fire or fire twice, or I forget the specifics of it. But the takeaway is always distance is your friend. Distance is safety, especially with contact distance weapons.
And one of the other things I saw as I watched this video, and there's a bunch, we'll probably talk about this for a while, maybe longer than people want us to, but there's maybe half a dozen people all shouting commands at the guy with the knife. Everybody is talking over each other and hollering and stuff like that. And I get it. It's stressful. You want him to put down the knife. You want him to do something. But again, have that plan, or at least understand that, wait a minute, there's going to be a lot of people screaming, can anybody hear what anybody is saying? And you're absolutely 100% right about the people who are unarmed getting too close to the guy with the knife, and
the guy who was armed was too close to him. I mean, again, these are, with all the respect in the world, these are amateurs. They were called upon out of their random private lives to step up and do something, because what everybody's afraid of had happened. Some guy with a buck 110 went nuts and started stabbing people in the eye. And, well, we got to stop him. Okay, well, how do we do it? Everybody solo. Like that's what happened.
And again, I want to stress, it worked.
Yep.
They stopped the guy, and good on them. Yep. And now we can Monday morning quarterback it all we want, and we can talk about things. But I want to should have started with this. It worked. The guy stopped his assaultive behavior, and he didn't even have to get shot to stop that assaultive behavior. The guy with the gun, and I made kind of an off-color joke. Man, I hope that was a 380, or I hope that was a 22 or something like that to prove all the people who are caliber snobs that sometimes just rule number one, have a gun is helpful, and that works. But yeah, the guy with the gun was too close to him. The guy without the gun, and there was a couple people without the gun, were too close. If he started a slashing attack, the tool or drill be damned. I mean, you have no way to fight back. Just your empty hands, and you're not John Wick. You're going to get cut.
And at least one person did something pretty slick. Do that 1/64th or 1/128th of a second assessment of what's around you. Grabbed a shopping cart and got it between him and the guy with the knife.
Right.
Let's start talking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, well, what can you do? Well, I'm not running up on a guy with a knife. Okay, and nobody is going to hold that against you.
Right.
You are in an open parking lot, and there is a crazy person with a knife. Step one for almost everybody is going to be, get away.
I'm getting away. But yeah, the guy
But get something in your hands.
Yeah.
If it's in the office, get a hold of the fire extinguisher or a stapler. If you're in the parking lot, don't let go of that cart quite yet. You might want to be able to move that around and get that between you and this crazy person with a knife.
Use that as at least an opportunity to delay or knock him off balance or something like that. And again, yes, it's people who have not had a lot of training being thrown into a situation that, quite honestly, they probably didn't even understand while it was unfolding. They knew he was stabbing somebody over there, and they were going to try to help and do something to stop it. It could have gone much worse if he'd have just gone ballistic and started a flailing attack and forced that guy with the gun to shoot him. Now, that seemed to be where, as I was watching all of this play out, that seemed to be where all of the comments started coming in. First of all, he was identified as a Marine Corps veteran. And everything I was reading, like, no Marine would ever hold a gun like that. No, okay, stop. And as you always say, what do soldiers fight with?
Rifles.
Yeah, rifles. Soldiers and Marines.
Airstrikes.
Soldiers and Marines are trained to work in units with rifles, with air support, with artillery, with all the other stuff that goes on when it comes to war fighting. I was not a Marine. I don't believe many of the people commenting about this guy were Marines. He may not have gone through a Marine Corps pistol training course.
I got a buddy who was in the Marine Corps for quite a while. He was in the band.
Yeah. So,
he shot a rifle well enough in basic and all that. But he was not in Fallujah 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Saying he was a Marine, why didn't he kill him? You're missing the point of, we're going to try not to kill anybody unless we're absolutely positively forced to.
Lots of people, the majority of the people, were commenting about this man's grip on the firearm and how no Marine would ever hold a gun like that. Okay, this was not a traditional isosceles grip stance.
Boy, oh boy, they had him. Finally, they got him. There's something they can say about this guy to try to tear him down after doing the gnarliest thing that they've seen someone do.
Haters gonna hate. They gotta have
haters gonna hate.
They gotta have something to complain about. Maybe this guy read something or saw something or went to a training class about the center access relock situation. That training method. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and we worked together on the book with George Harris, Marksmanship Simplified. And I remember George telling us, and I've known George now, it's got to be 20 years. And he has said the same thing all the time, is that the goal of shooting is hitting. Put the sights on target and activate the trigger without moving the sights off the target, and you will hit your target. And then he made us shoot the gun upside down with our pinky finger standing on one foot or something like that. And I'm not exaggerating. I'll look right at the camera. We had to stand on one foot, hold the gun upside down, activate the trigger with our pinky finger, and we hit the target because the sights were on the target.
Right.
And this guy is standing in a very dangerous situation, probably nearly panicked, because no matter who you are, you get nervous when you have to pull a gun on a guy with a knife. And he's holding him at gunpoint, trying to give commands, and quit complaining about how he's holding the gun.
The commands were part of, because I'm obviously certainly anybody who's been in law enforcement, but anybody who carries a gun should be putting themselves in that man's position, What would you do? What do you think is happening around you? Part of me thinks he kept advancing because those other people kept getting in front of him.
Yeah.
And he kept moving forward. Like, no, you guys, you're not paying attention. Stay behind me.
Yeah.
There is a gun here. Get behind, But whoever it is kept jumping out in front of him. But let's talk about all those other people. One of the first lessons you learn in law enforcement when they're trying to take you from somebody who isn't in law enforcement and turn you into somebody who is some academies and departments call it primary contact, some call it one, whatever. But you, Kevin, you're in charge here. You issue the commands. And what this helps prevent are the nightmare scenarios you sometimes see of, I'm yelling, don't move. Kevin's yelling, lay down. Somebody else is yelling, show me your hands. The person you're yelling at, like if I show my hands, the guy that said don't move, might you be like, this is how terrible things happen. So when you have those 3 or 4 or 5 people all yelling things at the guy, any number of things might happen. It might all just drown out. He might not be hearing anything. He could be having an episode. He could be full of some dissociative anesthetic where he's only hearing colors and sound and shapes right now. Who knows? But if you are in a situation like this and somebody is using their grown-up outdoor voice, issuing commands to someone, don't say anything.
Right.
Quiet.
Let them do it. There is in the training I got was the contact officer and the cover officer. Contact officer is giving the commands. Cover officer is going to figure out how to help without getting in the way and without causing other problems like that. And man, I got a question about that too. It's like, well, if I had my gun and I come up on that scene, what should I do? And my first thought was, you come on the scene where you see a person holding someone at gunpoint or trying to hold them at gunpoint. Guy with a gun, guy with a knife, guy with a gun is yelling, drop the knife. What you should do is keep your gun in the holster or at least be at the ready, but not get it out. Don't cause any extra problems where people might think you are suddenly an aggressor and not a defender. And there's a time and a place to get involved. And this guy's kind of working this problem. And if you get in there, are you going to make the problem worse or are you going to make it better? Maybe if you come upon the scene, you close off one of his routes of escape so he can't just keep backing away, and you get ready at that point and you tell him to stop and maybe keep it in low ready or something like that. But don't jump in and start screaming commands.
And here's the one that a lot of people never like to hear when they're armchair quarterbacking and second guessing everything everyone in an incident like this did. How far are we going to pursue this guy?
Right.
Like if you fire in self-defense because someone attacked you at the ATM and they start running off, like get to safety and reload and not dial 911, but that incident is concluded. That is a closed matter at the moment.
Right.
If this guy was stabbing people in Walmart, what are we doing, guys? Like, are we going to make a citizen's arrest, which is a legal catastrophe in most jurisdictions? Are we going to hold him until the police arrive? Well, now you're pointing a gun at somebody when the police arrive. I don't know. Everybody wants, whenever these happen, they want a definitive answer on what they should do. You're going to have to play this by ear. But if he just keeps backing up and you're running out of parking lot and he's about to slide down into a culvert or a ditch or something, are you going to follow him? Like, at what point are you going to pull the ripcord on this and let him run away? The cops are probably going to find him. Right? And we're not going to just string the SOB up now. Like, we're not doing that either. So you also have to think your way through, what is my actual plan here? The actual plan of making sure he doesn't harm anyone else? Great.
Yep.
That's a wonderful plan. But as soon as it's, well, who's going to put their hands on him?
Yeah.
The
cops.
I'm
waiting for the cops.
Like, if you're not a cop, what are you going to take them into custody?
Yeah.
That's an entirely different, very murky, dangerous legal area.
Mm-hmm. And as I watched the guy with the gun and the bad guy, good guy, bad guy, the bad guy kind of backing up and basically not doing what he's told, not throwing the knife down right away and not laying on the ground, I'm thinking, good move. You got the gun out. So you've stopped his assaultive behavior. He's no longer stabbing people. That's what we want. Now, if he's going to keep backing up, okay, I can keep following him a little bit at a safe distance to make sure that he doesn't start stabbing people again. And then police are going to arrive. And now you're right. Now you got your gun out. You better start listening to police officer commands because they're going to show up and they're going to say, drop the gun. And you're going to say, he's got a knife. And then the cops are going to say, well, drop your gun and you drop your knife. And yeah, it is, for lack of a better term, a barrel of monkeys. I'm trying not to use curse words right now.
And we're going to again say we heartily applaud the private citizens
Absolutely.
who were able to help in this way. None of this is the kind of criticism that you've seen elsewhere online of these people who it's your day, man. Step up. Either step up or don't. But if you step up, I hope you thought about this, and I wish you the best of luck.
Yep.
And they were lucky, and they were good,
And
got it
part of
done.
what I wanted to talk about too was, again, this continued narrative in the news that police officers arrived within 3 minutes and took the man into custody, and none of the major media in the nation is saying, "Hey, it was a private citizen with a privately owned firearm who stopped this savage attack and kept this person at bay until police could get there to take him into custody." And we need to stress all the time that good people with guns stop things like this from happening. And yeah, it worked out. I'm sorry that 10 or 11 people got stabbed.
It was a lot.
I'm sorry that happened, and it was terrible. But these people out in that parking lot stopped it. So everyone should quit complaining about the grip and the stance and the movement and other stuff and say, good job, they stopped it.
Well, it should. And I don't believe it's going to end with, what happened out in the parking lot. When it comes to what ifing your way through this, one thing that it reinforced to me was just how, what do they like to say now, problematic the checkout aisle in a store can be. That is narrow. It is made so you can't just jump into the other lane. I don't know where in the store this started, but this can also be another good reminder for keep your eyes out.
Yeah.
If something crazy starts happening in any store you're in, best thing you can do is split.
Yep.
Unless it's somebody who you are capital R responsible for, there is absolutely nothing legally binding you to go insert yourself into any situation. And there's multiple ways out of every Walmart, grocery store, you name it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, applauding the people who took this action. They didn't have to,
Yep.
but they did. They did the morally correct thing. I believe they did it legally, and other folks are going to question, well, he should have done this and he should have done that.
I think he should have just shot him.
Yep.
Well,
and we've heard that
thanks.
too. Yeah, he should have just lit that guy up.
Yep.
And like, you know what? I would much rather have events like this end without gunfire, because even the person firing the gun is suffering trauma as this kind of stuff happens. So I am hoping that when people watch this, they take into account, one, they should get training. Two, they should take a breath and slow down a little bit, because again, the guy in the purple shirt running in between the man with the gun and the man with the knife, that's like getting between two dogs fighting. You don't want to try to do that. And I think he was excited, agitated, whatever word we want to use, and not thinking clearly. And that's one of the things that we as concealed carriers need to do, is pause and slow down and try to think clearly. The old autogenic breathing from the police academy days, incredible situation all the way around. I mean, we could talk about this lots and lots and lots more, but by the time we just look this over, we're facing a rapid mass murder event in Manhattan, right? On the Golden Mile or whatever it is they call it, somewhere right downtown New York City. And people are asking questions about that now too. This guy drove apparently nonstop from Las Vegas to New York, brought out his rifle, shot a police officer, and then went inside a building and started shooting people in there before he shot himself. This is again, rapidly developing and unfolding situation. We're getting more data as it happens, but talk about this. You said, I called you up and said, Ed, we need to look at this. We need to talk about it. What were you seeing? What kind of information have you picked up so far?
Right off the top, I saw some impressive images of office barricading. Mm-hmm. People who I have no idea what they did in that office that they had that many sofas, but everything was up against the door like in a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
Which, if you live in a place or work in a place that you will be fired and possibly jailed for having a gun on you at work, that's the next best thing. Well, he's not getting in here.
Yeah.
And then we're going to lay down. And he's probably not going to lay down and shoot through the drive, whatever. Like, this is what we can do. So I'm glad that at least some people did what they could do once they heard gunshots. What if it's the police shooting? You can talk to them later. Like, doesn't matter. I'm barricading the door. Nobody's coming in here. There was much. I was up late last night watching the coverage of this. And do you know who Murray Gell-Mann was?
No.
Or is? I hope he's still with us. Maybe he isn't. He was a physicist. And he noticed that whenever they were talking about physics on the news, he would chuckle and like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. But then he realized, but then I'd go back to believing everything else they said on the, like, do they know as little about everything?
Yes.
As the one, if this is the one thing that I do know something about and they're always wrong. Are they just always wrong about everything? The people, sorry, America's dads who watch Fox News. Sorry, America's moms who watch MSNBC and CNN. I don't know where they found these cops, but boy, oh boy, are they ever clearly not. And he was emergency. I get it. He was this very impressive guy with a whatever PD career. Doesn't know his ARs well.
Yeah.
Doesn't know much about, I don't know, non-law enforcement in his department guns of the last 40 years. So take everything that you hear about everything on the news with a grain of salt. And remember, if you, with me, were laughing last night listening to this preposterous coverage about the rifle that was used, maybe sprinkle some of that into everything else that you read on the news and see on the internet too.
Yeah, that's the firearms, and I will do the air quotes, experts that come out to talk about this kind of stuff. Not people that we would hire to write in concealed carry magazines.
That's an M16. That's as automatic as a gun gets. It's like, okay, well, no wonder New York City is literally falling to pieces.
Yeah.
This is our hero, ladies and gentlemen. That's as automatic as it gets.
And
I would write that as a joke if I was writing lines for a really dumb anti-gun person.
Yeah, and they put him on the national news, and people consider that expert testimony because, well, he's the guy. He's, and we can complain about that for a long time. I really like the fact that you noticed the barricades and that people in our industry and who operate and think like we do and carry guns and live in places where they can, we scoff at the idea of run, hide, fight. Like, that's not the way you should but yeah.
It's what we just explained when we were talking about a mass stabbing in Michigan.
Yep.
Step one, best thing might be to run.
Yep.
And then if you can, hide. Actual cover counts as hiding.
Yeah.
Get behind some cover or concealment if you can't have any cover. Mm-hmm. And then if circumstance calls for it, fight. It's like bicycles. I don't unconditionally hate bicycles. I just hate a lot of what goes along with bicycle ownership.
Yeah.
I don't hate the idea of run, hide, fight. I hate the idea that most of the people who push it, what they actually mean is lay down and die.
Yeah. And
that's what they mean. They mean you're not allowed to fight is what they mean.
They don't want you to fight.
Right.
That run and hide part. And we've both read through Countering the Mass Shooter Threat, the book that we publish here at USCCA, and the very interesting breakdown of the Virginia Tech shooting, mm-hmm. where the people who locked the doors of the classroom survived, and the guy went into the unlocked door. The people who fought back through books and did other things survived. So we have the hide and we have the fight, and they couldn't run because he had chained the door shut, things of that nature. But yeah, if you can get something between you and the rapid mass murderer, the active mass murderer, that he can't get past, he's going to go to the next place and look for somebody else. And so, yeah, hiding can work effectively, but it don't just hide under a desk where he can just come and look under there.
Well, and this, God rest everybody that was murdered, but this can also be a reminder to people that, well, there was armed security there. Okay. What were they doing? Like you and I did pulled lots of shifts where we're standing in the front of a building, mm-hmm. and just like nobody can pay attention to everything everywhere all the time. Yeah. It at least sounds like that off-duty cop who was working extra duty to make money was shot in the back. I can't, again, I was up late last night watching this stuff. I can't remember if that's exactly what it was. But yeah, there was armed security, and then someone murdered that armed security officer. Right. And now they're in. Yeah. And it turns out you didn't need fobs to get to all the different floors. And it turns out, just like cities and taxpayers really don't enjoy paying for cops, businesses don't love paying for security because nothing ever happens here.
Yeah, it's
Well,
going to be fine. We
until
don't
it
need
does.
we don't need layered security.
Right.
We
Hey, you
don't
could
need-
run, hide, or fight if anything happens.
Yeah.
They're not going to care. So you are Mike Janich. I was just editing something of his a while back, and it was about office security. If you're a subscriber to the magazine, you'll be able to read it soon. But he talked about how you're the only person that you can, unless you work in a very special office, you're the only person you can count on. Now, the upside of that is at least you know who you can count on.
Right.
But you have to take some measures unless you work with exceptional people, because nobody else is probably going to be able to help you or even be willing or allowed to help you.
Yeah. And in to apply to this situation, have that plan, know where your exits are, know where your lockable doors are.
That's a big one.
Yep. And that you can quickly get behind a locked door. And in a perfect world, you're quickly getting behind a locked door that has access or egress out the other side, so you can lock the door and go behind another door. Or
In
get
a
into
perfect
another
world,
room.
certain
Yeah.
newscasters wouldn't have ruined locked office doors for a lot of people. There's a lot of
Yeah.
office buildings where your office door does not have a lock on it because
Right.
just like a lot of restaurants don't want locked bathroom doors for obvious reasons, a lot of offices don't let you have a locked office door anymore.
Yeah.
So step one, just like with your vehicle, step one is a squad check. Actually make sure like the doors are locking when you hit the door lock button and all that.
Yep.
Poke around in your office and see which doors. I've been in some buildings where it feels like you're turning a lock and you're turning that deadbolt and it's not doing anything.
Yeah, nothing
This
is
is
happening.
theater for you to make you think that you locked the door. You did not lock the door. Double check all that. Double check the windows. See what the security protocols are in the building that you have. Before we even get to keep a claw hammer in your desk for hanging pictures, it's really a weapon.
Yeah.
People catch on to that.
Yep.
The step one is always figure out where you're at. If you don't know where you are, you're already lost. And a lot of people, security-wise, they don't even know what the protocols are, and they don't even know what the possibilities are for the rooms that they're in every day.
Yeah. And ask those questions. Is there a code red announcement or something where it's like, hey, somebody's in the building doing something they're not supposed to? It might not be a lockdown. It might be some sort of announcement. Does your company have that? Has your company, bought the $18 items that you can drop in the backside of the bathroom door to lock the door shut and make someone have to pound their way through it to get in, to get after you?
This might also be the time to bring up, Kevin and I are available to intelligently talk about these things on television. You don't have to get the guy that says, well, he's walking on the street with a giant gun. Like, where were the cops to stop him? This is the guy that this department sent to talk on TV. This is a cartoon.
Yeah.
Kevin and I are available to give you actual analysis of things that happen in the real world, not to tell you what is as automatic as a gun can get.
Yeah.
We can do an analysis of your workplace rather than have whatever that guy was show up and say, well, you got to close the door, though.
Yeah. And honestly, it's frustrating to see that level of lack of analysis or lack of understanding or having I wrote about it in the magazine, my recent trip to New York, the shirtless guy on 125th Street that nobody even looked at. Guys walking down the street with a gun at low ready, and it's New York. Nobody's going to look twice. It might be an umbrella. It's none of my business.
And honestly, in their defense, if you're already past him, run.
Yeah,
I mean, call
get away.
call 911, but don't
While
go
you're
up,
running.
Yeah, don't go up to him and ask him which PSA that is that he's got.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm not even going to say it's the analysts' fault. The analysts that I was seeing were the people who were available at that time to go on TV. That guy's been a street cop and OSU for however many decades. Office security isn't his specialty. His specialty is, back in the Terry Stop days, spotting who probably has a gun on them. Or the office security consultant that they brought in doesn't know anything about rifles. He was never on SWAT, so he used a rifle once in the academy. This is part of the preposterousness that has been television for the last 70 years in this country. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say stop watching it and only watch USCCA videos. I'm just saying for stuff like this, you would be better off if you only watched USCCA videos. Yeah,
and again, media coverage with a great big grain of salt because, the governor of New York has already talking about why we need national gun control because this guy drove from Las Vegas where he legally owned a gun. And I believe I even saw a picture of his concealed carry permit online already. And that's not the solution to this.
Well,
because-
while we're talking about cops, I need everyone who wasn't going back and forth between Fox, CNN, MSNBC last night at 11 p.m. to understand that all of New York's finest, maybe not all of them, but several of them that I heard were saying, you know, this is a crisis of not enough officers. And I can tell you, if there were cops there seeing somebody walking along with a rifle, they'd have taken him right down. Which is a reminder to all of our activist friends who love to traipse about carrying rifles in public. This is what people are going to be thinking about when they see you making your political statement walking down the street with a slung rifle.
Yeah.
And it's not right.
You know,
and if you were doing this because it's the principle of it, and I know, it's not going to matter when you're dead.
Yeah.
Because this is what they're thinking you're about to go do, is to walk into a building and start murdering people.
Yeah. And again, this, you know, we shouldn't have to say this because, you know, I shudder to read the comments now that we're opening this.
You got to join me in never reading the comments, man. You got to get it. You got to get on my side.
I want to word this very, very carefully.
Massage it into the perfect shape.
It's going to be pithy yet also deep and profound. Is I believe wholeheartedly in the Second Amendment. No ifs, ands, or buts. We are watching a guy, there's video footage of him walking down the street in New York carrying a rifle. And you're exactly right. Now, what are law enforcement agencies going to think and how are they going to react first before this happens? We can support our Second Amendment at the ballot box by buying more guns and ammo, by voting for the people who want to allow gun ownership and things of that nature. I think it sets a dangerous precedent to be demanding that I get to carry my AR-15 slung over my shoulder or slung across my chest or something like that, walking down the street just to show everybody that I can.
And I'm a reasonable man. I will offer a compromise. If you are going to do your long gun open carry demo, bring at least 4 friends and signs.
Yes, signs.
Like if you have a sign, whatever okay, I might even join you. Let's do this.
2A advocate.
However, it's like if you're fishing and you see a guy swimming wearing slacks and a polo. Like this screams emergency to me. Nobody goes, oh, okay. If it's him in trunks with 2 or 3 other people, oh, okay, that's cool. So just understand, regardless of what you or I think about somebody carrying a rifle, you're dealing with, and now that there's just been another high-profile attack using a rifle, you're dealing with skittish cops, a lot of whom aren't gun people.
Right.
A lot of them don't know anything about guns. They did not grow up with guns. They do not like guns. And it sucks that people like that are cops. I don't like that. But our business is getting the right guns in the right people's hands and keeping good people alive. And some good people can be dumb sometimes and demand to do something like, maybe get a little attention high by walking around wearing a slung rifle in public. And
again, because, and the comments will come back again, I always jump to the defense of the police officers. I do. There are police officers who don't like guns because the only guns they've ever dealt with were in the hands of people who want to murder them. You know what, though? They haven't liked guns since they learned what guns were. I understand.
It's because I grew up in an anti-gun town. I grew up with these people.
Yeah.
I jump to their defense in a lot of ways. I do not jump to their defense in their staunch anti-civil rights status when it comes to private citizens with guns. They believe they're the only ones who should have any kind of force option above pepper spray, and they're not even that hot on you having a dog.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say some of them believe that. Others do not. So we have a beautiful counterpoint going on here. Would you be Dan Aykroyd and I be Jane Curtin, or would that be the other way around?
I'd rather be Belushi.
Yeah. Okay. But watching this, and let's bring this all the way back around to what you, as a private citizen in an office, can and should do if you hear the code red alarm go off, or if you hear a series of loud pops. I'm going to say, don't stand up from your desk and go look to see what that noise was. Go the other direction. Get yourself to a safe place that you have already figured out which way you're going to go. If I hear pops from the east, I'm going west, and I know where the 3 exits are over there.
Right.
And those are the kinds of plans that you have to have in place. It's not fair. It's not right. We shouldn't have to worry about it, but we do, because Either it's an anti-gun company or an anti-gun city, or you just need to get away from somebody who has decided for whatever reason they are going to try to get on the news today by shooting a lot of people. Hey, before you go, let me ask you, are you breaking these gun laws without even knowing it? Get a free concealed carry map that reveals the gun laws in your state and the states you might be traveling to. Click the link in the description below to check it out.